On September the 11th, 2001, I was introduced to a group of people that I never knew existed. I never knew they were there. I never really knew what their position was. Wasn't really sure, but I found them interesting. And this, for lack of a better word, I will call the professional conspiracist. I don't know what the word is. They have their own language, and they're interesting to a point. To a point. And I immediately find they're not that much in abundance, but whenever I come across one, I immediately run. I would much rather deal with somebody who doesn't know anything than somebody who thinks he knows everything. If that makes any sense to you, let me continue on. There was a subject that I spoke today on my private channel, which I cannot speak of here, cannot speak of in public, and in no way could possibly ever think for a moment that rational, intelligent adult people could weigh into this subject without the usual, you of course notwithstanding, the usual mean-spirited childishness. Now let me explain, but first, before I have to tell you that you have been so terrific in liking the video, subscribing, and hitting that bell to be notified of new streams. And you have been just wonderful, and I thank you immensely. I thank you immensely. I also thank you for the love and the support you've shown for our great sponsor, mypillow.com. Promo code Lionel, special free gift, loads of deals and sales and clearances you cannot imagine. A great company, a great group of people. MyPillow.com. Thank you for that. But there was an article that came out today that was very interesting, and it dealt with this story of Barack Obama. And I'm going to read this to you as it appears in the Daily Mail, and then you're going to know immediately why I am not going to discuss it here in public. But I will do it somewhat, but not too much. And it reads as follows. This is the headline. Obama biographer who revealed ex-president's, quote, gay fantasies and cheating behind Michelle's back brands him as insecure as Trump and warns lazy ex-leader would be terrible on SCOTUS. And this is out today. This has been talked about in various places. This is historian David Garrow, who gave a 1,078 page, I think there was something called, where was this today? It was, let me see. You can read this for yourself. Let me explain this to you. You can read this. It's in the, yes, with tablet, Q&A with tablet. You can go and you can read it. His name is Garrow, Garrow, David Garrow. Sitting down with a lengthy Q&A with tablet. He talks about a variety of things. Now, why is this important? First, this is the way I would show you, or perhaps instruct you, if I could be so presumptuous, in our boot camp as to how to deal with this. First, you must understand something, that when it comes to Barack Obama and his wife, and Michelle, there is, as with Trump, an insanity that starts to brew whenever you bring people together. Same thing with Trump, same thing with anybody. It starts with one person. They go online and they start feeding back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And one person tries to outdo the other. And then that person tries to outdo this one. And pretty soon, truth has something to do with it. Truth has absolutely nothing to do with any of this. It becomes a matter of who can come up with the funniest joke, the funniest meme, who can say the usual stuff. It has been going on forever. And you've heard this before. These things, these jokes about Michelle being a man. And it's just... And at first, I thought, okay, look, people are entitled to say what they want. But then it got to be stupid. Stupid to the point of almost, it's like, all right, enough. And then it was like, no, we don't even care anymore about whether it's true or not. All we care about is perpetuating the joke. And I'm going to say this, the meanness. Same thing goes with Trump. Same thing. Hillary, anybody. It has nothing to do with reality. Nothing. So that's why I said, all right, back off. I have no interest in this. It's kind of funny for a while. But that initial kind of a slam, because it's great to be petty for 5 seconds. And then there was a time when we were trying to look at deliberately whether there were people who actually had evidence that the president may be not entitled to his Article 2 status by virtue of his being born elsewhere, as was suspected in the case of Herbert Hoover, for violating the 14-year requirement of citizenship or not citizenship, but residence. Some even brought it up regarding John McCain because he was born really on, I think it was the Panama Canal. Mitt Romney's father, George Romney, was born, I think, in what is now Chihuahua, Mexico. There were legitimate, real time. Ted Cruz can Ted Cruz be? But it became different. It became different with Obama. And then the birthers started. And what happened is the people who were trying to protect Obama sit back and wait, will pull a couple of statements, if not create them, and say, this is an example of what's happening. This is what is happening. This is misinformation and hate and racism, and we're off to the races. That happened with vaccine talk. That happened with 9/11. That happened with war. That happened with Russia talk. That happened with the 2020 election. And that's why social media cannot be the place to discuss these things. It just cannot be done. It cannot be done. I do that on my private channel. I want to go through this very carefully. And I want to look at this. Because it's a fascinating subject, but it's a fascinating subject if you only can look at it in a very kind of an interesting kind of a I don't want to say pari passu, but in a kind of a methodical move. That's what I want. But the problem is I can't find methodical movers. I can't. You run into people who will not listen to this. But it's a fascinating subject. And I talk about this. And one of the things that I've always found interesting is what's really the truth behind people. There's the individual, and then there's the individual that we think. And what will happen is that Barack Obama is still a mystery, enigmatic, almost a creation. We don't know anything about him. We don't know anything about him. We don't know anything. And yet, I will say that and stop. But other people say, oh, no, let's keep going. Let's keep going. We don't know anything about him because he's a communist. It's like, wait a minute, hold it. Where are you getting this from? I don't know. I like that. And then somebody will say, yeah. And the metrics go up, and then that particular quote. People will say, really don't know anything about him. What about their dating? What about their dating? Well, what about it? Well, what about it? What about it? Well, I'm just, Well, what do you know about other people? What do you really know? Remember Laura Bush? Remember the story about the accident where someone was killed? Remember that one? Remember that one? It wasn't her fault. Remember this Laura Bush accident? This was, she talks about the 1963 car crash. About she caused a teenager that left young person dead. Okay, fine. That's already been talked about. But when it first came out, remember how people were jumping on it? You probably don't remember this. But they immediately jumped on this. And this was right sort of when social media came about. And nobody ever got to the bottom of it. Nobody ever even remotely said, wait a minute, can we talk about the truth? No. That being said, Barack Obama fascinates me. Fascinates me. Where he came from, who is responsible, who runs the show, what does he really do, what does he really want, what is his goal here? What is his he lives, in Kalorama, I think it's pronounced, in DC. He still has his mansion there. Came from nothing. Nobody knew him. It's so interesting. Here in New York, a lot of people that we know, went to or attended Columbia. They don't remember him. He was head of the Harvard Law, the law review. Where did this come from? You don't think somebody from that far back could have set him up to be the president? I don't know. Other people will say, "Oh yes, absolutely." Oh, absolutely. They'll just jump right into it. What? They'll jump right into it. They'll just say yes, yes, yes. You see, they start off with this idea where they take these. I wish I could introduce you to one friend of mine. He has every bumper sticker there is. PSYOP, sheep dip, you name it. Just go down the list. PSYOP, sheep dip, limited hangout, whatever it is, and he puts them in a box, and he tries to use as many of the labels as he can in any kind of an address, because that somehow gives him cred or something. I have no time for that. But go back through this. I remember so many things and heard so much stuff about Obama that you put it in the back of your mind and you say, okay, well, that's interesting. That's interesting. Same thing with Trump. Absolutely. With anyone. Everybody, we used to go through the specific, the mental, the background of Richard Nixon and how he was poor and how he hated the Kennedys because he felt inferior, and they were rich and they were blue bloods, and he couldn't go to Harvard because he couldn't afford this thing. I mean, he just over and over, and he was miserable, and he was a drunk, and remember, did you hear how he beat up Pat? Did you ever hear this? Where, I mean, serious stuff. But Obama, all bets are off. Then we had her grandmother. What about the grandmother? What about, remember they talked about the birth certificate. I never saw anything like it. Remember this. I remember people say, well, where are you from? Well, where's your birth certificate? We don't have to show you the birth certificate. Excuse me? You have to show a birth certificate or something for HR. You want to get paid, don't you? You could work at TJ Maxx and they'll say, give us your birth certificate, your driver's license, your something. We got to prove you're an American citizen. We just, maybe not now, but after Biden. No. What do you mean, no? Wait a minute. Where were you born? What do you mean, where was I born? Well, why don't you show us a birth certificate? None of your damn business. Excuse me. This is an Article 2 requirement of the Constitution. Where were you born? Are you a natural born citizen? You're a racist. I'm not a racist. What are you talking about? Okay, we'll show you the short form. The short form? What the hell is the short form? Remember that? What's a short form? Do you have a birth certificate or not? We'll get you one. No, you don't. Then they couldn't find one. And nobody. It's like, wait a minute. Why are you creating all this? Now, listen to what? Listen to this. At the very time this was happening, the people in charge of the shadow government, let's face it, what is it? What do you want? A birth certificate? What year would you like? What country would you like? What paper would you like? Would you like parchment? Would you like? We'll make anything for you. Anything. We make these things. What would you like? Hawaii? What? Born 1950? Okay, sure. 1960? Well, okay, got it. Name of the parents? It's on its way. Here it comes. But no, they fought it. They fought it. And then they said, well, we'll give you the short form, as I said. And then they said, well, here's a third or fourth generation photocopy of an announcement that was made in a local Hawaiian paper. Wait a minute, what? And then finally it said, okay, here it is. And then there was a fellow who was if I recall correctly, he was very good with graphics or something, where he suggested that maybe something had been moved, or he saw. Anyway, this thing went on forever. Then when Trump ran, he brought it up. Joe Arpaio brought it up. Everybody brought it up. And I kept saying, why don't you just give him a birth certificate? I don't understand this. And I'm thinking to myself, why aren't they doing it? And then I had to stop and say, okay, they're doing it on purpose because they want you to understand that they are obstinate, that the rules don't apply to them, that they do what they want, they say what they want, they write what they want. The rules apply to them, not to you. If they don't want to show you it, they won't show it to you. If they want to show you, they'll show it to you. It doesn't matter. This is what I thought. It's the only way to explain this. Remember this? It was the wildest thing. You're a racist. Why am I a racist? What's going on? And then the mystery. So, well, where's he from? What do you mean? Was it Indonesia? Is it Hawaii? Who is this father of it? Wait a minute. Stop it. What about this Frank? Remember that one? It was a story. Hang on. There was this story. Oh, yeah. Frank Marshall. Remember that one? Frank Marshall Davis. They said he was the father. Wait a minute. Hold it. Then you had the mother. And who's this Obama guy? What's that story? What's going on here? Where's he from? Who is he? More people that I talked to just now, what I just told you, they have no idea what I'm talking about. They don't you remember? Then you remember the story about her? Then they said she was, the mother was anyway, I talk about this, as you can imagine. I go into detail because it was such a fascinating subject and nobody was paying attention. And I was, and I became more confused by the day. If there had been anything suggesting that Donald Trump's mother was an actress for B-rated movies or whatever, I mean, it would have been. They called Donald Trump's father it rhymes with Yahtzee. They you see how I got to talk? This is weird. I got to talk like in code and I'm using a legitimate word. You don't know, though. You can't tell, because that's what self-censorship does. It just kind of makes people like, oh, girl. They went after Trump. I mean, they did stuff. But nobody cared the least about where did Barack Obama come from? Who is he? He's a community leader. What? What the hell is that? What is a community organizer? Then Michelle. Well, a little bit with Michelle. Remember her brother? And then there was now I always thought that the amount of and I absolutely incurred the wrath of my more anti-Obama friends. I said, I always feel sorry for her. What? So first of all, she didn't run for office. Number two, she actually came up with something where she was talking about, growing, and she wanted to perpetuate, not perpetuate, but promote good eating and healthy eating, and they attacked her, and it's like, she said, the hell with this. All right, fine. They attacked her looks. They attacked her size. They attacked her bone structure. They had people, these self-styled anthropologists, who were saying, "Well, look at the distance of her clavicle." I was like, "What are you? Wait a minute, hold it." And then, of course, social media just cranks that up. So if you have somebody in the old days in Duluth and somebody in St. Louis and somebody maybe in Milan, three people to say, "Hey, I got some interesting idea," they would have had to have written each other or published this in a magazine. But because of social media, all of a sudden, and because of photoshopping, it just starts. Come on. Now, let me also tell you something. Everything's possible. But I never got anybody, I never could find people who wanted to look at this thing in a way that was done almost historically. Like look at the politics of how history and libel with Trump, with everyone really, how it's all, and how the media collectively, they just turned that off. There is nothing but glowing love. I mean, we always knew there was bias, but never anything like this. And yet there are other people who say, "You know what? My instincts tell me this is interesting. My instincts tell me this is really interesting." And the question now is Obama running the show? Is Obama running the show from the background? I don't buy it. I don't buy it. And the reason why I don't buy it is because it sounds good, but I don't believe it for a moment. My feeling, we can be the latest. My feeling is that he is somebody who is not. Hang on a minute. Here we go. Fox News. Obama biographer says ex-president as insecure as Trump would be terrible on SCOTUS in stunning interview. Okay, maybe. Here we go. This is Tablet Magazine. This is the one. David, this is the one. The Obama Factor from Tablet. A Q&A with historian David Garrow. Now, some of these things, there was this one line where he said, I think he was on Colbert years ago. I think I'm trying to find it for you. But this was where Obama says something to the effect of, if I had my way, I'd love to be able to be wearing my sweats and talking into a microphone, kind of like a wag the dog kind of a thing, so that somebody else could be running the show. That's interesting. I don't know if that's necessarily breathtaking, whatever, but I personally don't believe he's running the show at all. I do not believe so. I believe there are operatives. There is Susan Rice, and there's Valerie Jarrett, and all the people who were there and all, but they're not running the show. They're operatives, but they're not deciding where this is going. They're not, because if they are, they should be sued for malpractice. You see, the thing I love, and what I like to talk about in my own stuff, is what goes on really in the background. There's something going on right now with the whole BRICS. The world is breaking into West versus BRICS: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. And there was a piece this morning, and if you must follow. How do I say this? You must follow the Twitter to really get the good stuff. And there is where is this one piece, which was, I can't find it here. Damn it. Anyway, so I talk about that. There's certain things, like I said, you can and can't talk about. Let me give you another little story. Let me finish. I'm sorry. I jump ahead. Obama, we can only approximate. We can only approximate. We can only get to the point where we approximate the, I don't know what you want to call it, the how it all works. I told you years ago, the thing that changed my life, the thing that I really thought was so interesting, was when I was a kid. They had the old black box thing, which I thought was so terrific. Remember that? The black box. And the black box works something like this. It was this black box. It was a cube, and inside somebody put something, and we're shaking it and we're saying, okay, I don't know what it is, but I think there's something in here is spherical because it's rolling back and forth. The one's sliding. So you approximate what you think is happening by virtue of the sounds it's making. By the way, I need 400 likes. I need 400 likes, my dear friends. 400 likes. Thank you. So what I do is I look at this. I'm thinking, what makes sense? Is Obama running the show? No. Absolutely not. Who runs the show? Who actually runs? Well, it's different. It's hard to say. It's a conglomerate. I told you right now there's a wonderful thing about BRICS. The BRICS nations, I was trying to find, I thought I tweeted this. The BRICS countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, are looking to add more of this. You're seeing a resetting of the entire world. It's something that we haven't seen in a long time. It's very difficult to find people who find this interesting because most people find the usual, especially my group of people who take all of the labels, all the bumper stickers, all this stuff. They use the same stuff over and over again. And they don't really understand what I think is fascinating. What is going on in the world right now was done by a committee, by an understanding, by groups of people at levels and tiers you don't understand. And there are so many things that are changing. Let me give you an example. Yesterday in New York, we had something which was very, very tragic. There was apparently an influencer by the name of Kai Cenat. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. And this is a Twitch influencer, a Twitch streamer. He apparently, he has more than 20 million followers. And he basically said, he was charged with encouraging a mob of young fans to descend upon Union Square Park, where there was absolute and total chaos. Now, why is this interesting? First and foremost, there is in our country a group of people who are, for the most part, clandestine, quiet, subterranean. I don't know what the word is. I don't know what the phrase is, but they're under sub rasa. You don't know who they are. If you go like this, and we saw this during the George Floyd case, all of a sudden, boom, there they are. It's like, what is this about? It's like an infection. It's like it's almost like when sometimes a woman will take antibiotics and she'll get a candida or candidiasis or monili or some type of yeast infection because the good bacteria are killed off and lactobacillus. Anyway, make a long story short, the bad bacteria rises and you get a yeast infection. That's what this is. This is a human yeast infection. There are people who all of a sudden come out of nowhere and there they are. And lo and behold, they rise out of nowhere. And there they are. And they immediately break into this violence. They have their phones. They go, who are these people? Who are they? Any attempt on your part to say, wait a minute, may I identify the demographics? No. Yeah, but I'm seeing something here. Keep it to yourself. Yeah, but I think, watch what you say. Well, can I point? Nope. If you took the same scene yesterday, switched it, and had MAGA Trump hats, they would say white, nationalist, racist, whatever it was. What he did, what this Mr. Cenat, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name, Kai, what he did was basically what Trump was accused of doing. And this mob descended on the scene, and there was apparently a construction site. They went and they were grabbing shovels and plants, and all hell broke loose. And this guy, Mr. gets a desk certificate. And of course, people show up wearing a mask to make identity and to make people with their phones, saying, I was there for this. And the police are coming in, and the police are saying, now what do we do? Do we act like police, or do we do the right thing, or what exactly do we do? Any other police force, any other really good police force would have come in and would have said, we're going to crush this to let people know, don't do this anymore. I don't mean shoot people, open fire, but I mean all of a sudden units, mobile units, tactical units, tanks, urban command. I mean, it would have been like, holy, an overpowering show of force. Again, not violent, not shooting, none of that stuff. But we don't know, because we have, if you really want to see, look at the response time of this. And if I didn't know better, this was a perfect chance to see exactly what the response time is, and to see how good the police is, and how fast they can respond, and how long it takes, and how is their intel? What about their intel? Who was watching this? See, a real good government would have said, we have monitors, obviously. This is where social media would have come into play, where somebody from Twitch or YouTube or Facebook or whatever it is would have said, excuse me, there is we think you should know this. Right now, as we speak, there are people talking about, and this is in the open, I'm not revealing anything, but there are people descending upon, and this thing could get ugly. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. That would have been nice to know, just to at least prepare for it. This shows you there's so much to this that we can't discuss it. Can't discuss it. And I promise you, watch the news and they will talk about it almost like a rainstorm. It's, that popped up out of nowhere. That's interesting. Okay. Well, moving right along, it's like, no. And people immediately on social media can say, how is it? If Jason Aldean had said, hey, y'all, I'm going to be down at Union Square, and all you good patriots show up and come on out, and, and they would have said, white nationalists, you look at this with their fly. January 6th, here we come. You know what would have happened. This is fascinating. This is what I want to spend time discussing. But what happens is, a lot of times, sad to say, and I do it, sad to say, I find myself with the usual suspects wanting to say the usual things. There was another topic that came up the other day, which was so critical, so important, but doesn't have the exciting heft that it should have. And this is what Nigel Farage said when he warned other people that they're going to start closing banks down if somebody were to admit or say something that is problematic. Mr. Sonat will not have his bank account shut down. Period. These little skirmishes. This is incitement. You can call it whatever you want. This is exactly what it is. So we start off right now. We have so much to discuss in a world that says, okay, watch what you say. Everything of any note will be behind a paywall. Everything. And people are going to say, okay, that's where it's going to be. It's going to be behind a paywall where you can say whatever you want, where you can just say, wow, let's talk. It's kind of like Chatham House rules in a way, where we can talk about stuff. The world is so fascinating. It is so, you have no idea. And I'm telling you right now, there is the stuff that is the most interesting. And I'm telling you, people will say, because it doesn't rise to that. For example, I told you the royal family. Do you understand what's happening right now? This is the most powerful family on the world. They make the Saudis, the Rothschilds, the whoever you want, whoever you want to talk about, they are it. Nobody's bigger than them. Doesn't seem like it, but they are. But yet, for some reason, it doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't have that same. There is so much that is going on right now. I can't tell you. I want to tell you. This is very interesting. And the reason why the Obama story is interesting is not whether he has some deep-seated sexual obscurantism, if that's, I don't know if that's even the right word, but maybe, whatever, I don't know. But that's not the issue. The issue that nobody talks about, and that even this fellow, is where do we get our, not Manchurian candidates, but where do we get our central casting groups of people? Where do we get this from? Think about that. Where do these people come from? Who's next? Gavin Newsom. What's happening now? Let me also tell you something. I told you this also, and I discussed this on my channel. Wait till you see what Bobby Kennedy's got in store for him. He has no idea. Remember, I told you this one. Get ready for that. It's a new rule. New rule. New generation. They don't know who the Kennedys are. They mean nothing to them. Nothing. Wait till you see what's happening with that. What's happening with Hunter Biden? Do you know the story the other day where Obama supposedly met with or had a memo or talked or somehow to Joe Biden? You believe that? I don't believe that for a moment. They said, hey, Joe, this guy Trump's pretty good. You got to understand what's going on. You see what they're doing now to Trump? Now they want a protective order because Trump said, and let's make sure we get this thing correctly. Trump said something which they are, and this was a bit strange. I don't know. He says, the DOJ has urged the federal judge to issue a protective order against Trump, seeking to prevent him from disclosing sensitive details about his criminal case. Well, he's the defendant. Now, I know that this is not at all unusual. Prosecutors said that it's particularly important that social media, that Trump has made previous social media posts about witnesses, judges, attorneys, and others. Okay, so what? If the defendant were to begin issuing public posts using details or, for example, grand jury transcripts obtained in discovery here, it could have a harmful, chilling effect on witnesses or adversely affect fair administration of justice. Can you believe the Department of Justice actually saying they're worried about the effect this is going to have on witnesses and the fair administration of justice? What? After Roger Stone got a ninja search warrant at 4 a.m. with CNN just happened to be there? Are you kidding me? Trump wrote on Truth Social, if you go after me, I'm coming after you. You're kidding me. So they're now making this out to be, well, this is obviously a threat, and we have to do something about this. Can you believe this? Can you believe this? By the way, who's coming out in who's out in favor of Trump? Anybody? See a Mike Pence is sort of saying, well, maybe there is maybe something that the vice president could have done. I don't know. Yes, Mike. Yes. Who's sticking out? Who's looking out for Trump? Who? They showed he was having dinner with Maria Bartiromo. Trump is, as is called, pardon my French, a star effer from the old school. He loves stars, loves them. I know this. I'm not going to go into detail. I know this. And whether it's, I'm not going to go through it, but they're star effers. Okay. This is why Trump he needs somebody. I told you this yesterday, and I'm going to say this again. He does unforced errors. First of all, there has to be somebody in charge. Before you speak on behalf of the president, you got to go through me. He doesn't have that. It's kind of like, it's patchwork stuff. He had a lawyer the other day, one of his female lawyers, show up in purple with a low cut thing. And I thought, what are you doing? First of all, I don't even think she's on the team. I don't even know. And if she is, what are you doing? What are you doing? You've got an election theoretically coming. You never do this. You've got a problem with women in particular, but also it looks like, what is this? What is this? She looks like somebody from Price is Right, like somebody who turns, who Carol Merrill before your time. What is he doing? And he's flying in and going in. He meets with this one. Oh, there's Maria Bartiromo. Okay, that's nice. What are the Fox people doing? Nothing. Fox people are hanging on for dear life. Because right now at Fox, let me tell you what's going on. You've got these people there who are supposedly in charge, and they're going to Rupert Murdoch, and they're saying, Rupert, what are you doing to me? What are you doing? You're making us hard. First of all, you get rid of the biggest guy that we have. Why? What was the purpose of that? Why? What is the matter with you, Murdoch? What are you doing? You didn't even settle. You paid Dominion. You gave them all the money. You didn't call one witness. Make them more. Have a call two witnesses and then settle. You gave up and you rolled over. And you went after your number one person. Now, you could have sat down with Tucker. You could say, listen, Tucker, let's talk about this. We know what you're doing. We appreciate what you're doing. But let's face it, you're the new thing. The whole show is like 1985 all over again. Hannity still thinks Russia's alive. He still thinks, listen, God bless him, but that's over with. Then you get the usual people. Maria Bartiromo, that's nice. Kudlow. What did they say? Nothing. Remember years ago, I think I told you this. There was an Irish bar I used to frequent. And there was one of the owners was this guy. They said he was so notoriously tough. They said this guy used to be a rugby player, and they said this guy, if you ever see him, he is like old school, hardcore, really hard Scrabble, Irish. And I always heard about him. Well, apparently one night there was a problem. There was some guy in the men's room. They couldn't get him out. So they said, watch this. You're about to see something you'll never see. You don't see it in this guy. Oh my God, I'm going to see this. Finally, this guy I'm going to see. So he opens up the door and he tells this guy, he said something completely indecipherable, which I think was the way he did the guy. This one, that one. What? To pull the guy out and then you jump on him. Anyway. So he took his watch off and he put it here and he rolled his sleeves up. I thought, oh man, I used to see this on TV, rolling your sleeves up. How long is this going to take? The guy's drunk. This guy's twice his size. What do you got to roll your sleeve? Take your watch off? What is this? You're going to hit him with your... Anyway. And it was like this. Guess what happened? Nothing. They just wore the guy out. He probably said, oh, I'm in a men's room, for God's sake. I'm coming out. What are you talking about? That's this. That's Maria Bartiromo. That's Larry Kudlow. Why, you rat. That's Sean Hannity with his, what is this? And can you believe this? We have on, I know, we got Alan Dershowitz, we got Jonathan Turley, what it is, and how come this? Yes, I know. And Hillary Clinton did it. Yes, we know that. Quit saying that. And Hillary Clinton, yes, Hillary Clinton did the same thing. And yes, it was Hawaii in 1960. Yes, you know. And Jamie Raskin. Yes. You keep saying the same thing because that's as far as they'll go. They're not going any further. They're just, it's nothing. They're doing their best to try to make Fox News relevant. And by the way, same goes for Newsmax and the rest because nobody's really getting into it because nobody really wants to get down and dirty. They want to talk about just the headlines. That's it. Not to mention, most of the people who watch this, they don't know what the headlines are anyway. So they think they're really, oh, I'm really learning something. You're not learning anything. This goes way deeper, but they don't want to. They believe me, deeper is the last place in the world they want to go. So this is where we are right now. So this is Rupert Murdoch. He fires the guy who made Fox interesting. So they got this. And I want you to notice something, please. If you can withstand any of this stuff, watch how it's turning into The Price is Right. It's turning into PM Magazine. It's turning into these nincompoops and Brian Kilmeade wrestling with people and Ainsley Earhart or Amelia Earhart, whatever her name is. It's just silly. It's stupid. That's the way it is. So that's why, where's everything going to be? It's going to be paywall time to go deep, 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 and deep. What is really happening? What is really happening? Whatever happened with the big Hunter Biden laptop? Whatever happened? Remember they had the other day, who was it? They had Bobby Kennedy Jr., Emma Jo Moore. Well, what's on it? Can somebody give us a list? You saw the laptop. What's on it? This isn't that Wiener laptops. Remember that story? You think anybody's going to be tough? You think anybody's going to go? Do you think? Let me go back a little bit, just a little bit, regarding Barack Obama and why the deep, dark secrets of a president may be relevant. Listen to what I'm saying. And they said this about Bill Clinton. If you put yourself in the position where you have something that somebody can hang over your head, you can be blackmailed. That's why it's important. That's why it's important. That's why. There are sometimes they're important. If you have a president who's an alcoholic, Franklin Pierce was the worst. I don't know about U.S. Grant. I know during the war, but for good reason. LBJ, bad. Nixon, bad. Bad. You don't want to have a president with his load on. So if somebody has emotional problems, disorder, or somebody who can be blackmailed, this is relevant information. You think anybody on Fox News is going to do that? Hell no. They just want to do this. They told Rupert Murdoch, listen, we're going to make it look good. We're not going to really be talking about Trump. We're going to be talking sort of, kind of, the usual stuff. Because people say, okay, here's a list. You can talk about Hillary, you can talk about Hunter Biden, and you can talk, but that's about it. Don't go any deeper than that. Okay, fine. And maintain always this pro-war stance, which they've done. It's ridiculous. The best stuff ever on Russia, Ukraine, you know where to go for that. That's online. That's the best. Oh my God. I mean, it is fan. There is stuff that is so good, so great, so wonderful. It'll blow your mind. I mean, it's almost like, I can't believe what I'm seeing here. What's what? And they've done this. They've forgotten this. Remember who was a Cavuto? By the way, Neil Cavuto, if there's one person who was almost like, not the double agent, but the agent, it's Neil Cavuto. This is a guy who, he sold his soul to that. And it's smart. See, the best thing in the world is, you know why you pay these people so much money? To buy their loyalty. Where the hell can Neil Cavuto go? Neil Cavuto couldn't lure me out of a burning building. He is the proverbial wet fart. He is the most unnecessary and unimaginative of anybody. But he's loyal. Why? Because of the gig. You're not going to do anything to let the thing out of the way. See, Tucker figured, I don't have to worry about that. And Tucker Carlson's interview with Devin Archer, one for the ages. If that's not Pulitzer, I don't know what is. Tell me one interview that's more important than that. Tell me, can you think of any? I can't. So, my friends, that's where we are right now. That's what's happening. So understand something. This is just, and I don't mean to say it like this, but I will. What you are seeing is just not even the tip of the iceberg. By the way, today in Real Clear something, I told you about Warren Harding and his wife Flo, who probably poisoned him. Great piece on that. History is fantastic. If you spend any time. This morning I was reading Zero Hedge and Global Research and just everything but. I kind of look, this is the way I look at, Fox News. Okay. That's what they're talking about. Okay, fine. That's it. Drudge Report. Okay. Just to get an idea. It's like you look at somebody else's menu. That's what they're serving. Okay, fine. I don't want to read it, but that's it. And you understand how incredibly complicated this is. But believe it or not, this story in Union Square, take that group, switch them to Jason Aldean supporters, you wouldn't recognize the story. Look at what's happening with Barack Obama, his story, switch it to Trump, you wouldn't recognize the story. And here's the good news. The mainstream media, the sock puppet media, have been destroying, have done more to destroy our worldview than anything else. And guess what's going to destroy it? You and me. Just plain old folks. Great, actual, real reporters, but also people who, it's one thing for me to tell you something. The real goal is to make you think differently. To make you say, oh, maybe that's not what that means. Maybe this is being done deliberately. That's what I want. And you've been great for that. Now, as I said before, and I mean this sincerely, you have been so wonderful, and thank you. We have right now 320 likes. We need 400, as I said. The only thing that keeps us going, the only thing that is our juice, so to speak, is the metrics. It goes so that somebody somewhere can listen to us and maybe say, I saw this guy. He made me think. He was pretty good. I couldn't figure out at first. Didn't seem like one of these right wingers. It didn't seem like a lefty loon either. He was kind of making sense. He actually was suggesting that maybe I look at the facts, maybe make up my own mind. He was maybe giving me an alternative way of looking at it. I think I'm going to follow him. I'm not going to be somebody who's spewing propaganda. You don't need me for that. You know where to go for that. That's boring. That's easy. You want somebody to say, tell me what happened with Trump and tell me why this is important. And if you tell me something good, I'm going to believe you because when Trump does something wrong, you tell me the same thing. Why would you believe me if I'm always a cheerleader? Why? As smart as he is and as good as he is, try finding anything that Mark Levin has ever said where you could say, this is not fueled by this almost rabid fanaticism over Trump. It's like, it's weird. I mean, Trump's good, but come on. That's all, my friends. Listen, you have a great and a glorious day and a wonderful day. And I told you this, and I mean this. Where did I put this? Let me see here. Oh, it's tough being a one-man show. Let me see here. Oh, by the way, this is Mrs. L. I want you to follow her on Twitter or X, whatever this thing's called, at Lynn's Warriors. Follow her there, and also follow her on YouTube at Lynn's Warriors, because it's very, very important, very, very critical that you get to see what's happening, because what's going on with kids, you can't believe. All right, dear friends, you have a great and glorious day. We will see you today at 7 p.m. Don't ever change me that sincerely. And thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for focusing. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for listening, and thank you for caring. Remember, I only want to change not what you know, but how you think. That's my goal. All right, friends. See you tonight. Don't forget, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya. Ta-ta.